say that I had a great experience there, and with my background, it was the perfect fit for me, a huge part of how I got to where I am today, and it's a big reason why I decided to pursue a career in education, and continue that promise forward. So thank you to everybody. I want to, along with everybody else, extend my thanks to everybody in this room for being here today and the work that you do. A little bit about Strata. We are a social impact organization that's based in Indianapolis. To achieve that mission through a number of ways, through our philanthropy and mission impact investments, through our I think some of you have met is here today, and I hope that you have the chance to look up some of the great work that our other affiliates are doing if you're unfamiliar. We also work to advance our mission through our research and insights, which includes our as well as partnerships with many different organizations in the field. Lumina Foundation, for example, who Holly gave a great presentation this morning. The National Governors makes in the labor market. In 1980, the college graduate made about $300 more per week than a high school graduate, and now they earn about $600 more per week. In other words, what economists refer to as the college wage premium has doubled over the past 40 years, and with the following statements. My education was worth the cost, or what we called cost value, and my education makes me an attractive candidate to employers, or what we call career value. We looked at this by degree level and found that, interestingly, those with both either graduate degrees or this category of vocational and technical education, which could include certificates, non-credit education or training as well, ranked the highest along consumer value ratings, while bachelor's and associate's degrees ranked lower than that. BAs were a little bit higher on career value, AAs were a little higher on cost value, but both lower. And unsurprisingly, those who stopped out gave very low value ratings to their education. Then we looked underneath that into majors and found that the more career-oriented the major was, the more likely consumers were willing to give it a high value rating. So majors like health, STEM, education, and business received the highest value ratings compared to liberal arts and social sciences. Visual and performing arts was given the lowest rating. But I think one of the things that's interesting about this is we know in terms of earnings, education leads to the lowest earnings among college majors, having done some of that work before. But consumers rate that as incredibly high value. Why? Because it got them into the job that they wanted. They probably went into it knowing that education, social work, et cetera, isn't going to pay a lot, but it helped them fulfill their goal. The trends are very similar for associate's degrees as well. So, like I said, the obvious hypothesis that we came out of this is what consumers really value are these workforce applied programs. Then we looked at how consumer value correlated with the other variables in the data. And so if consumers thought that their coursework was, if they said that their coursework was directly relevant to what they do on the job, they were many times more likely to give it a high value rating. We tried to disentangle the aspects of their experience as well and saw, what other things were associated with value. And one thing that stood out to us was the quality of the advising that they received. So if they received really high quality advising, they were rated both cost value and career value much higher than if they did not. In terms of the kind of advising, if they got their advice from a work-based source, formal or informal, 83% of those that received advice from a work-based source said it was valuable. But only 20% of the students that we surveyed actually received advice from a work-based source. So there's a huge opportunity there. A couple other things we looked at were access to job placement and mentoring. So for career or job placement services, only 38% of the students that we surveyed had access to them. 61% of the people who had access to it used it, and of those who used it, 74% found it valuable. For mentoring, 36% of students had access to mentoring, said they had access to it. 68% of those students took advantage of it, but 84% found it valuable. Then we asked them, well, who was your mentor? And professors were by far the most likely source for mentoring, as we, 64%, so by a long shot, 64% of those who were mentored by a member of the faculty. And so in that, I think what Sarah mentioned earlier about the mentor that helped her is what we consistently find in the data, is they found it far more helpful than things like career services, because there's a relationship there. So there's a lot more to share, of course, but I don't want to stand between you and your evening. If you'd like to get more involved with Strata, however, there's a couple of ways to do it. Number one, if you're interested in surveying your alumni, number one, or just talking more about these data, feel free to come talk to me, and I've got my email up here as well. So don't be shy and shoot me a note. A couple of other plugs I would like to make. We have a podcast launching next week called Lessons Earned that will be available for the podcast junkies among you, of which I'm one, hosted by my friend and colleague Ben Wildofsky. And we're interviewing just a lot of change makers in post-secondary education to learn from their ideas. Ben's he's a brilliant interviewer, and he has a really great radio voice. Our affiliate Road Trip Nation has a new documentary on their website called Community Driven, which is just a really heartwarming and inspiring documentary about students, California Community College students' life and career journey. So please check that out. Our friends at MZ, if you want to better understand your regional skills gaps, they've got some great information for you, a report that just came out that we published, and I think Brian has a few print copies available. And of course, please go to our website and check us out. Finally, thank you so much again for the incredible work you are doing, and for the opportunity to be here and to learn from you. And have a great evening, enjoy the rest of the conference.
There aren't many speakers that can keep you up in a darkened room at this time after carrot cake. So if I had known how eloquent you were, we would have had you last year, but we'll have you again next year. So a pen.
Wow.
So every time is that a dorky gift? Is that the nerdness coming out? No, okay. So every time you use a pen, please think about us. Think about the students that we're impacting every day, and how your work is informing our work. So thank you. Thank you so much for being with us.